Hey there. I wanted to share my story of a time I was so overwhelmed. I woke up covered in hives. You see, I'm a mom of four girls. One summer, we had one of those summers. You know what I mean? My oldest daughter had just graduated college. Had to have that party. She was also getting married. So, guess who the wedding coordinator was? Yep, I had to plan the whole thing. She was also expecting her first baby, and I was going to be a Gigi for the very first time. Had to have the baby shower and get the nursery ready. We were also getting her ready to move. Our second daughter had just graduated high school. Such an exciting time. So we were getting her ready to move off to college. And of course, had to have that graduation party. Our third daughter was moving on to high school, and it was her birthday. So another party had to be planned. Our fourth, and the baby of the family, as usual, kind of gets left out. So I had to make sure she was taken care of. All at the same time, I was starting a new job after being a stay at home mom for over 20 years. Needless to say, when I woke up that morning covered in hives, I knew something was going on. I remember waking up and I had like this little red spot on my arm that itched a little. I didn't think much of it. So I went into the bathroom and went through my morning routine. And I looked in the mirror and I saw my red blotches all over my face, down my neck, my chest, both my arms, my torso, my legs. I was covered in hives 3 days before the wedding. I had to think about what was going on. How did I get this? Had I been taking penicillin? Because I'm allergic to penicillin, and this is really what it looked like. No, I wasn't rolling around in poison ivy. Was it bed bugs? None of the above. My body was telling on me. I had been so stressed and overwhelmed and exhausted and irritated. All of that was coming out as hives. It got my attention. My body was giving me a signal that something wasn't right, kind of like a smoke detector. If we haven't met before, I'm Erin Slutsky. I have been leading and mentoring women for over 25 years. I've helped hundreds of women change their lives. I'm also an accredited Enneagram practitioner, and I have a nursing background. You'll find my Enneagram journals on Amazon, and I am here for you today. So, this is where we're going. We're going to talk about burnout, what it is, and what to do about it. I am going to talk about 3 elements that lead to burnout, as well as a secret tool to fight burnout. You ready? I want you to be aware of the signs so you can prevent it. Burnout is defined as a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. You know, that exhaustion that leaves you feeling like you have nothing left to give. You might even become a little cynical and your give-a-care is gone. You might even become detached and feel isolated, like someone blew out your flame. If you were asked to rate your burnout on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you fall on that scale? 1 being, I have no stress in my life. Everything is going according to plan. All the way to 10, when you are just done. You have nothing left to give. You are burnt out. Well, what does it take to put out a fire? You need to be able to detect it. Notice the signs. Smell the smoke. Figure out where it's coming from. What is the source? And extinguish that flame. There's different fires, so there's different ways to put it out. For example, you don't want to put water on a grease fire. Ever tried that? Preventing that fire, we need to remove what's causing it. We need to step away, take a step back, take a break, and assess our situation. We know this. So why don't we do it? Maybe we think if we take a break, everything is just going to fall apart. But the truth is, if we don't, we are going to fall apart. Kind of like those hives, right? Our body is not going to let us off the hook. Stress can build up in the body and can cause cardiac issues, autoimmune disease, relationship problems, and even loss of a job. I don't want you to be in that situation. I want to teach you what leads to burnout so you can prevent it. We're going to talk about 3 things today: a lack of boundaries, a lack of priorities, and a lack of self-awareness. So let's start with a lack of boundaries. Do you ever find yourself overwhelmed? Your calendar is overflowing. Your to-do list is never ending. Those requests from all over the place keep coming. That's how I felt. I wasn't setting boundaries or keeping them. I was saying yes to every request that came my way. I'm a people pleaser. I needed to make sure that everyone was happy. Like my daughters had to have the parties, had to make sure that everything went smoothly. I would wake up early to get ahead on things, and I'd stay up late to finish up what I didn't get done. I filled my calendar with everyone's schedule on it. I had no boundaries. Boundaries are there to keep you safe. They help you manage your stress. They regulate your emotions. They protect your relationships. There's 4 different boundaries I want to talk about today. Physical boundaries. Think of a fence around your yard. It keeps your stuff safe. Emotional boundaries. Think about the people that you're with and who you can share what with, and also keeping other people's emotions safe. Time boundaries. Think of your calendar and what gets put on, and if you can get everything done. Are you always available to people? Is your ringer on your phone constantly and you don't know how to turn it off? Do you work on the weekends or even bring home work for after work? And then there's topical boundaries, which are really hot right now because of the election coming up, and just the climate of what's going on today in the news. Uncle Harry does not need to be talking about religion and politics at Thanksgiving, if you know what I mean. So one thing I teach my clients is something I wish someone would have told me. You have full permission to say no as a complete sentence without guilt. How do you say no? Not easy, is it? I teach my clients just to add these 2 words to it. Thank you. No, thank you. Right? We teach our little kids that too. Thank you for inviting me to the girls' night. But you know what? I have to get up really early the next morning. Maybe next time. Oh, I would love to do that extra thing at work. It would give me really good exposure or experience. I just can't put one more thing on my calendar. But thank you for thinking of me, right? What do you need in order to say no? I want you to think about something that you need to say no to right now and how good it's going to feel after you say no. All right, let's talk about priorities. When we don't have things in order, we can get really overwhelmed. Take out a blank piece of paper, just a scratch piece, maybe on the back of your guide that you downloaded, And I want you to list everyone you can think of. Who's in your life? Your family, your friends, your coworkers. Just start listing the names. Now I want to ask you, where's your name on that list? My guess is it's not even there. I want you to put your name at the very top. Go ahead. It sounds selfish. You need to prioritize yourself. Prioritizing yourself means prioritizing what you value, which will impact every decision that you make. I was taught to put others first, but that meant I had to put myself on the back burner. And this is what made me feel overwhelmed, resentful, and break out in hives. We need to prioritize what we value. It'll help us stay focused and in the right direction. It will give us clear-headed thinking. It'll help us make better decisions. Our stress will decrease and that guilt will be gone. Each one of us has a different set of values. I bring my clients through a process of discovering their values. That way they can recognize when they're out of alignment and use the tools that I have given them. For example, I value relationships and efficiency and honesty, and those things come first. So here's what I want you to do. Remember a time when you were happy, just so happy. What were you doing? Where were you? What about that time you were just so proud of yourself for something you have accomplished or overcame? And then think of a time that you felt truly fulfilled, that you had purpose and meaning in what you were doing. That's where you're going to find your values. You've probably heard of this analogy of the big rocks go first. These two jars show the same amount of rocks. They're just put in different order. One's overflowing and one fits perfectly. Think of those three most important things to you. Those go in first. Those are your big rocks. Then you can put in the pebbles. And those are the things that are important, but they could be put off a little bit. Then fill it up with sand. These are the nice to have things, but not necessary. And you know what? You can even fit some water in there, and those are just bonus. So what are your top 3 values? How can you keep those big rocks in first? Think of your schedule. How do you plan your day, your week, your year? Are the most important things going in first? All right, and now the lack of self-awareness can really lead to burnout. This is where I believe is the answer. Self-awareness is just the ability to understand your own thoughts and your feelings and your motivations. It can lead to improved decision-making, reduced stress, aligned priorities. It creates self-acceptance and increased empathy. It can lead to clear communication, better relationships, and just overall growth. I like to think of self-awareness as like a mental smoke detector. It can give you the early warning signs for potential burnout. It can help you recognize where that fire is coming from and help you understand the issues that lead to burnout. It'll also help you take action to manage and put out that fire. I didn't have self-awareness when I broke out in hives. That was pretty much my smoke detector. I don't want that for you. But they woke me up. Those hives woke me up. I remember sitting in the front row of my daughter's wedding, and I was able to take everything in because I was now awake and aware of what was going on. I was present. I remember watching my daughter walk down the aisle. She was so beautiful. And my husband, I could see the happiness and joy and fear and sadness in his face. I was able to take it all in and treasure every moment. So if you want to fight burnout, start with self-awareness because that's where it ends. Understanding what motivates you and what holds you back. It helps you connect with yourself and with others. So let me share this secret tool. You ready? It's called the Enneagram. Ennea means 9, gram, think of 9 points on a diagram. The Enneagram helps you identify the signs that you're headed towards burnout, what you can do about it, and how to avoid it. There are just 9 different ways we see the world. It creates self-awareness and provides strategies to navigate that stress. It creates that empathy, which improves communication and how you understand others. I remember when I first discovered the Enneagram, I felt seen and just known in such a deep way. I learned to accept myself and have compassion for myself. It's been a tool that I use for more than just burnout. But today I'll show you how you can use the Enneagram to detect burnout. I'm going to go through each type real quick and go through the stress, overwhelm, and burnout cycle. I want you to listen to which one you resonate if you don't know your Enneagram type. So the type 1, it's considered the improver. When they feel stressed, they get really moody and drained. They're overly emotional. When they move to overwhelm, they can start getting really easily angered at the littlest things going wrong, and they feel like no one else understands what they're going through. When they move to burnout, they start harboring resentment. This is my client, Jen. She's the Director of Leadership Development for an international moms group. She came to me feeling unorganized and out of control. She likes things to be just so, and they were not. She felt like a hypocrite leading a team of leaders. I helped her see that she was afraid of not being good enough, and that was the source of her stress. Now she gives herself grace and permission for things to be good enough and leads her team by example. Number 2 is considered the helper. When they're stressed, they get real demanding and they talk real directly, almost like a robot. They move to overwhelm, they start getting aggressive and unapproachable. When they start feeling controlled by their life or job and can't remember the last time they did something just for themselves without anyone else benefiting, they might lash out in anger and head towards burnout. Type 3 is the achiever. When they are stressed out, they'll get kind of melancholy and ambivalent and avoid social situations. When they move to overwhelm, they start numbing to avoid feelings of not being good enough, whether it be binging on Netflix or substances. They can start isolating and feel like they want to disappear when they're headed towards burnout. This is Hillary. She's a mom of 2 teenage boys and 2 grade school boys and 1 with special needs. She has a coaching business and a public speaker, and she was struggling with burnout from running her business and balancing her life as well. She became a workaholic because she felt lazy if she wasn't working really hard. She was drinking 5 Diet Pepsis a day just to keep going. She became aware of her fear of failure, and I taught her how to reframe it as more of a learning opportunity. Now she prioritizes her R&R time by setting daily alarms to take a break. She plans it weekly to block in her calendar just time and permission to do whatever she wants to do. And then monthly, she takes a personal retreat for a couple hours. Type 4, the individualist. When they're stressed out, they wallow in self-pity. When they move to overwhelm, they start comparing themselves to other people and maybe even deal with some jealousy and resentment. When they move to burnout, You'll notice that they're just not taking care of themselves. They may go days without a shower. Type 4 is the observer. They get really unfocused and directionless when they are in their stress cycle. When they move to overwhelm, they get scatterbrained and they can't remember anything. When they're burnt out, watch out because they get really critical. Type 6 is the loyalist. They get self-critical and they just beat themselves up. When they move to overwhelm, they have those workaholic tendencies and get super productive. But then they move to burnout and they have all that energy followed by a crash and they just fall apart. Type 7 is the enthusiast. When they're stressed out, they get angry and frustrated. When moving to overwhelm, they get those perfectionistic tendencies and they get really rigid in what they're doing, black and white thinking. When they move to burnout, they take risky chances. They have risky behavior, they get self-destructive. This is my client, Megan. She leads a group of electrical engineers, so she works in a male-dominated field. She's also a single mom of 2 kiddos. She came to me when she was frustrated with spinning herself in circles, and therapy just wasn't cutting it. She would get stuck repeating old habits and couldn't figure out why. She felt powerless and out of gas and ended up isolating herself. In hindsight, she says she needed someone to help her face the uncomfortable and dig into those sticky, guarded spots. Now we are working on creating a beautiful resume because she knows her worth and she wants to get paid what she's worth. If you can relate to Megan, you might be a type 8. When you're stressed out, you get stuck in your head and you go through that analysis paralysis. Moving to overwhelm, you start feeling controlling, like you want to control people and situations, and you are just devouring information. Moving to burnout, you get antisocial, really quiet, and you might withdraw. And then the type 9, the mediator. When you're stressed out, you get real hesitant to make any decisions or take any action. When you move to overwhelm, you might be snapping people's heads off because you get angry and maybe passive aggressive. Moving to burnout, you get super anxious and all you can think of is the worst case scenario. Don't worry if you can't figure out your type because you can take my free Enneagram test on my website or in the downloadable guide that came with this presentation, you will find something to help you do that. This is going to give you the personalized system to fight burnout and plan what you need to do next for each of your types. For now, though, I want you to have a tool to help you notice and manage your burnout. Any type can use this. And this is in your guide that you downloaded as well. So how do you prevent a fire before it starts? You got to figure out where the energy source is, right? So this life-giving worksheet is going to help you recognize what energizes you. List the people, places, thoughts, and habits that give you energy, that fuel you, and those that drain you. The key is to do more of the energizing and less of the draining. All right, close your eyes for a minute here. I want you to imagine what it would be like if you said yes to yourself with confidence and pride, which gives you a sense of peace and freedom. You said yes to the things that truly light you up and give you a sense of meaning. Imagine making better decisions, having more energy, taking more control over your time and your money. Imagine when your head hits the pillow at night, you fall fast asleep and you stayed asleep all night and you woke up rested and ready for the day. Imagine being kinder to yourself, more realistic, setting boundaries and prioritizing your self-care. Imagine burnout being far from you. Now imagine if you did nothing after today. You went right back to what you were doing before you started this presentation. You stayed stuck and frustrated and discouraged. You stayed exhausted and drained, and you can't even think straight, just running on fumes. You lacked motivation and you just didn't even care anymore. You were frustrated with work-life balance and you continued to try to figure out things on your own. And you were heading towards burnout. You can open your eyes now. If you're looking for transformations like my clients had, where are you going to start? I want you to choose just one thing: priorities, boundaries, or self-awareness. Commit to it and schedule it. If you upgraded to the VIP, you will receive Self-Awareness Academy, which is a 6-module course that goes beyond the Enneagram and helps you apply it to your life. It goes beyond burnout. We talk about a lot of different topics in this course. It takes you through my process of creating awareness, which leads to acceptance, so you can take action. I would love to stay in touch with you. You can find me anywhere on social media and my website. But I want to leave you with this. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Thanks for joining me today. I look forward to working with you in the future.